And we are now live. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Bill and Amon's Bogus Hangout. We've got a bunch of people who've joined us already. I'm going to have them say. Okay, so I've turned off the time warp. Uh, uh, I have people introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about themselves. Doc?
Doc Sheldon of Intrinsic Value SEO and Search News Central. I'm just kind of hanging on and trying to stay on this side of the Great Divide. Been doing the SEO and technical copywriting for about 16 years now, and loving it. I focus mostly on technical SEO.
Terry, introduce yourself.
Terry Van Horn. Oh no, you want me to list all?
No, maybe just representative sampling.
I am a founder at the SEO Dojo with David Harry, and founder at SEO Pros as well. And I have a web development company. Yeah, been doing it for about 25 years now.
Thank you, Terry. Tim?
I'm Tim Calling. I own A Servant's Heart Web Design and Marketing. Do a lot with home health care, hospice, elder care services, a lot of local SEO work because those clients tend to be very local SEO oriented. And things are pretty much just normal. That's why instead of now when people say, how's it going? I don't say good. I don't say bad. I just say normal. Normal is good.
And I'm Bill Slosky. I am the Director of SEO Research for Go Fish Digital. And I am the writer at SEO by the Sea. And I love when Adobe updates take over my screen and can't turn them off.
Are you on a PC or a Mac?
I'm on a PC.
At least it didn't step into a Windows 10 update.
It waits until the middle of the night to do those for me now. They were smart enough. It does warn me. It says they're getting ready to update my Windows experience, which scares me.
And with good reason. It should.
Yeah. And Dawn is with us too, but she's making coffee, I believe. And we'll have her introduce herself when she returns.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, everyone who seems to have trouble with Windows 10 never had a issue ever, other than sometimes it tries to update when I'm running one of my 18-hour ranking reports.
The only problems I've had with it was with the updates being very often and very long. The first time when I installed it from scratch on this hard drive, it took probably 20 minutes. And the other day it updated, it took 4.5 hours. And it just basically stops you from doing anything. I mean, it uses the resource entirely. You can't even get your mouse to move. So
yeah, you can set the time when those happen, eh?
Yeah, well, I figured that out. Now I do like Bill, and I set it up for after 1 a.m.
You know, you can also go into Windows and turn them off.
Yeah, but then, unfortunately, then when you decide to update, it defaults back to turned on. So you got to remember to do it every damn time.
I guess I'm just real lucky because my brother's a Windows administrator.
That helps.
Yeah, he's yeah. I also do you use applications, or are you using a service? When out 360, are you using that?
Yeah, I'm using 360.
Okay. Oh no, you should talk to my brother though.
It does seem to me that Windows 10 takes more memory than Windows 7 did,
Yep,
and it's less stable. So
Everything though does. Tell me an application, an operating system where that doesn't happen every time.
that's fair, but it does seem a little less stable for me. Maybe it's just me.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't had any stability issues with it, really. Just the updates has been the only complaint I've had, but it has been stable for me.
So when I started using Windows 10, it seemed like they really wanted me to have a touch screen.
Mm.
And everything was sort of geared towards that metaphor.
Yeah.
But they've sort of backed away from that.
See, stuff like that, my brother knows how to go in and tell it to go away. Don't bother.
Well, I've got a laptop that converts to a tablet if you fold it up the right way, and I've kind of disabled all the automatic mode switching stuff because usually I don't really want it to do that, and that helped a lot with the whole touchscreen problem. I do still occasionally, though, if I forget and leave touchscreen turned on, and I'll go to point at something on my screen, it goes all crazy.
Yeah, I'm pretty old school, and I won't even touch my machine. If something happened to my brother, I'd be screwed.
Well, I've never used a Mac ever in my life, so I don't know whether it would be any better or not. I really don't. But I do feel like I kind of miss the stability of Windows 7. But on the other hand, it got stable after some number of years. So
see, I hated Windows 7 because I had Windows NT before that, Windows NT Professional. And I just said to my brother, I'm going back to Windows NT Professional and stayed there until 10.
Yep.
It was tough moving away from Windows NT.
It was.
Yeah.
Oh, it was really stable and yeah.
That's some really granular control too. It was nice. Yeah, I used 7 Pro and I liked it okay, but I resisted leaving XP Pro behind to go to 7. And I really resisted leaving 7 behind to go to 10. But when my hard drive died, I didn't have a choice. I couldn't find any place locally where I could buy a set of discs for 7 Pro. So I bought the 10. And it's been okay.
I had a summer job once where they gave me a MacBook to use while I was working. And I had a Windows laptop right next to it while I was working. So it was easy to compare how they function against each other. Because some things I was just so used to doing using Windows, like crawling websites. And there was a Apple version of a program that did similar things on a web crawl called Integrity that I remember trying to use too.
Yeah, I was on Mac for a very short time. In fact, where I went to for programming was all Macs because it was a graphic. They were branching into this, and they were a graphic arts school. They were branching out. So the biggest difference I found, a lot of times, this was in late 90s, I found a hard time finding programs to do a lot of the stuff that I wanted to do. And there would be 2 or 3 Windows programs to do the same thing.
Oh yeah, that one of the big reasons that I hated Mac was because there were so many of the programs I already had that weren't compatible. And the company that I was with back in the early 90s decided they were going to finally build an intranet and make sure everybody had a computer, a laptop or a desktop. And the owner's daughter was our IT manager, and she liked Mac, so that's what everybody got. And
Burgers are douchebag.
It sucked terribly. It was so bad. I spent $5,500 of my own money to buy a damn PC-based laptop just so that I could get some work done. And
this isn't true anymore, but back like in the 80s and 90s, there was a guy named Philippe Kahn. He was the founder of Borland International, and he's still around in tech. And what he said was, the computer you want is always around $5,000. And it really was true for a long time.
Yep.
Although I did one time go crazy. I bought a Compaq. I forget what the model was, but it was the first one that was not a sewing machine size, but the one that was more like a, I don't know, like a really big toolbox size. And I bought it with maxed out hard drive and RAM and the add-on thing for RAM that you could put in the back. And it was $10,000.
Wow.
And that was a lot of money. That was like, well, it still would be, but it was 85 or 86 or something like that.
I bought an Osborne secondhand. Somebody that was getting shipped overseas. I got this Osborne before hard drives were available. It was just 2 5.25-inch floppies. One for the op system and one to use as memory, as a buffer, and a little 5-inch screen about the size of a coffee pot. Yeah.
Well,
and it was a sewing machine. I swear, I think my arm got 4 inches longer carrying that thing around.
Oh yeah, the first really high capacity storage drive I had was on my original PC back when I was working for a chemical company as a CFO. I bought a PC, then immediately I had to add RAM to it just so it could run Lotus 123. But I had a Bernoulli drive.
Oh yeah,
Bernoulli drives at that time were these big, humongous things the size of another, basically another PC unit. And they had these big, enormous slide-in disk cartridges. And what did they have? I think they stored a megabyte or something, which was an unheard amount of storage. One meg or 10 megs, I forget. Just amazing.
I had a couple friends show me how to build computers using original equipment parts. And we'd go to shows, buy RAM by the dollar, and just wouldn't spend $5,000 to build a system, but maybe 500.
Well, if you're building your own, yeah.
Yeah.
This is turning into the Quienes Mas Viejo show.
I had a friend who may build a pretty good business building clones.
Well, yeah, this computer I'm on right now, you remember Rebecca from the dojo, Terry?
Yeah.
She built this for me about, oh my God, I guess it had to have been 2011 or 2010. And I mean, it's beefy. It's got 64 gig of RAM, and it's just. Nice. It's a killer gamer style computer, and it's still going strong. And it cost a total of $700 in parts.
Wow!
My son builds PCs. He works for me, as you know, but he built mine, and he built his own. He just went and got all the parts, and he loves it. Actually, he loves going on to PC parts websites and like looking at all the different specs and then he gets all the pieces and he just literally he always says, Mum, I cannot wear certain things because if I get magnetized, I don't know whether there's any sense in that. He said it'll break such and such thing, it'll blow, and he puts on these, he makes sure he hasn't got anything, he puts rubber shoes on and stuff. Seems ridiculous,
Yeah, static could definitely mess up some components, yeah.
Yeah, he's really, really mad for it. He loves it when anything breaks because it gives him an excuse to just totally geek out the computer shop people. So, yeah. So he's a massive gamer, and he's built a system that's got water cooler drive. Have you seen them? They have like water going around the hard drive. Keeps them all.
Yeah.
I know. Seriously, he's a proper serious gamer, mad gamer. Yeah. But yeah.
I wanted to build this myself, and I just found that there's so many things now. It used to be you could go buy a power supply, you could buy a motherboard, you could buy a processor, and now there's so many compatibility issues that pop up.
There's hundreds of variations of absolutely everything.
Yeah, and I just figured, okay, I can go out and I can spend $500-600 that's going to end up going down the drain because I can't use that card with this motherboard or that. Yeah. I mean, even as simple as just buying RAM. Now you got 16 different options. Yeah,
and is it HDMI? Is it this? Is it that connection? Yeah. Blah 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 blah. Yeah.
So I just said I said to hell with it when Rebecca said she'd help. I said, "Oh boy, have you got a deal for me?"
I'm terrible with hardware. Seriously, I'm some people are great with. I'm okay at coding, and I love like the rest of us are like. I love geeking out at crawls and SEO and whatnot. But when it comes to hardware, I'm terrible. I just can't.
And networks.
Yeah, rubbish. I'm just rubbish at it. It's just not my thing at all. But each their own, isn't it?
We software people work at a higher plane.
But no, it always intrigues me. He really loves it. And he loves having a real debate with the computer hardware shop when they try and tell him something's like more compatible than this one and blah, blah, blah. And he has a massive debate with them. And then eventually they go, oh, yeah, you're right. So just
if he hasn't already been to the U.S., you tell him he must come here someday to the West Coast and go to a Fry's computer store.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
He'll have a ball.
Yeah.
Parts and parts and parts.
Oh,
yeah. I'm trying to get him, I'm trying to, if you like, get him to, he's got a computing degree and he works for me, but I just think he agrees, he'd be much better suited to working on servers and server administration, etc. So I'm going to put him down that path a little bit so he starts taking more server administration and hardware, more further qualifications, really. He's probably just better suited for him, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so. But I'll still keep him for now. Working for me. Yeah. It's just good, isn't it? To be constantly looking to kind of keep developing. So. What's everybody up to anyway?
Well,
mostly no good.
You missed when it went live and everybody introduced themselves. You should introduce yourself, Tom.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I missed that bit.
We could have you introduce yourself now and
yeah. Oh, okay. So I'm Dawn, and I'm sat in a dark room in Grenoble in the middle of the Alps, French Alps. I'm in SEO. I've been in SEO for 11 years, but this week I'm at the European Conference for Information Retrieval. Yeah, it's really, really interesting stuff. So I'm just here to learn and learning a lot, actually. Really, really exciting research going on into all kinds of things around intent and semantics, and a huge amount around neural networks and word embeddings. Even some interesting stuff around trying to detect some medical conditions as well. So yeah, some really interesting things. There's one chap I was chatting to who's built. He's French, but he actually lives in the US, and he's a professor at one of the US universities. He's built an alternative to Google Scholar, which actually works in a different way. So instead of it just building it off standard information retrieval, it builds it based off a citation network. Yeah. So, you know, when we read a paper of any kind of research, the place that we tend to go to next is the actual for other references. So it's building it based around that rather than just normal search, if you like. And it was really interesting.
Yeah,
I'm going to do what's that?
I worked on something similar. It's called Neighborhood Scout. They get information from the census, the justice, ratings, and they give a profile of a neighborhood.
So it's more ranked off that kind of connection relevance rather than just standard ordering of, you know, dates or whatever. It's
the guy who put it together specialized. He's a professor, I believe.
Yeah.
A scholar anyhow, and he does urban development. So so they could map out the U.S.
The connections and so forth.
But you could take the same application, put the same data from another country, and it'd work perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of the talks at this year's conference is very much around using those connections rather than just the standard using. In the past, everything, as we know, has been around text-based stuff. So now it's a lot of the mining is around connections of mappings of people or citations in this case. Yeah. So so it's just really interesting, really interesting stuff. I'm going to do a bit of a write-up actually for state of search actually, just because there's such interesting stuff worth sharing, I think. So I feel obviously I always feel like a bit of a spy in the mix when I come to any of these, because no SEOs ever go to any of these conferences.
Yeah, there's a reason.
I know they're all right. They're pretty friendly, to be fair. Nice people. So
you know, kind of like I don't have to butcher the cow to eat the meat.
Well, I know, but I'm interested to know a lot of this stuff.
Oh, so. It helps, but it's way beyond my pay grade. So
I don't know. I mean, you've just talked about
building a search engine.
I don't agree, Terry, because you just talked about something there that was based on more or less the same sort of thing. So it's you know,
that was done though in probably around 2003.
Yeah. So things don't move that fast, really, do they? Overall, they don't.
No, as I always say, spend 3 hours at a conference or go and read a post by Bill for 10 minutes and get almost the same value.
Yeah, I love Bill's posts. No, I love Bill's posts, but I just like digging, you know.
Oh, hey, someone's got to do it.
Yeah. I find some really.
It's not something I am really
that interested in.
Right. I just like to eat the meat. I don't know. I don't need to do all the other stuff.
Yeah. No, each their own. Fair enough, but
for sure. If that's how you manage, then that's the way to do it, right? Everybody has their own way to do things.
Yeah. I feel like I always have to know why.
I've gotten some insights from some search engineers I've talked to about some things they do with the search engines that I wouldn't have learned otherwise without talking to them. Like the Yahoo search engineer who told me we collect lots of data at Yahoo too, and we don't always know what to do with it all either.
We don't get told. We only get told, obviously, what search engines want us as SEOs to know, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but they kind of they're a lot more transparent, I think, than they probably used to be. But there's still everything goes through a process of, well, what can we say, what can't we say?
Right. I happened upon a blog post from a search engineer who wrote a patent that I had written about the week before, and he commented upon it in his latest blog post. He said, I came across this guy, Bill Slawski's blog. He wrote about a patent I worked on. He wrote more about the patent than I wrote coding in the patent.
That's pretty good praise there.
Yeah.
And I tell you who else is speaking. And if you've not heard of this guy, even if you're not that interested, it's worth just looking him up anyway. He's really well known in the world of information retrieval and search for web search engines as an academic, but also a lot of his work gets built into things. Martin de Rijk in Amsterdam. In the Netherlands, they have an absolute brilliant school for information retrieval. A lot of the academic stuff comes out of there. He's done a lot of, it's a free book actually, and I'll share it with you. I'll get the link in a minute. It's called Click Models, User Click Modeling, based on predicting behaviors and looking at things like short clicks, long clicks, so on. So he's built about 6 models to predict user behavior. I know that they said they don't use click models, but, well, they do. They do.
See, now something like that I would be interested in, because it's not about retrieval, it's about user intent. I am more interested in that kind of stuff.
Well, maybe I've not explained it well, because most of it is about user interaction, this conference. So there's loads of stuff around intent and user and understanding and analyzing results and stuff.
Because for an SEO, intent of the user is still prime.
Exactly.
If you don't know that, you don't know squat. You're not going to be successful.
Most of this conference is around users and analyzing what is a good set of results in search. So actually, that's pretty useful, even as as an SEO, isn't it?
As an SEO, you want to know how your audience might react to anything you put on the page.
Yeah, exactly.
What words they expect to see.
Yeah.
And they'll likely search with.
Yeah. What tasks how search engines interpret task-driven search. Task-driven search is like the big thing now. What people are looking to do rather than what they're looking to read.
Always has been for that. That's how they grade themselves, basically, is how long does it take to do a task, a search task.
There's a lot of stuff around information foraging too. The information foraging queries, how users search for certain things and how many different types of clicks they have within the actual search engine interfaces before they get user satisfaction.
But SEOs tend to estimate and too much stuff. Let's see, the top result gets clicked on 73% of the time. The second result gets clicked on 65% of the time. So on. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
If the top result's navigational, it's the one that tends to get clicked on most of the time, and the rest of them tend to not get clicked on.
Yeah, you have to look at search. You can't just.
You have to look at foraging behavior. You have to look at the fact that sometimes people are going to bounce around a bit whilst query intent is ascertained, and they'll throw out query diversity to start with on the really generic terms. So they'll give you maybe a few different types of result, so that you can then start to sort of go down certain paths. Or, we know that if we just type the word shoes in and they've got no information on our past browsing history, it's like, do we want to buy shoes? Do we want ideas for shoes? It's kind of, we'll get quite a diverse set, if you like, of results. So there's a lot of stuff around understanding queries here at this conference.
Well, universal search was basically an attempt to try and come up with something for everybody in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Donna, are you using the word?
Sorry, Tim, go ahead.
I was just going to ask Don, are you using the word foraging?
Foraging, foraging, information foraging. There's a whole expansion on the work of information foraging theory there on that dmax.org. That guy, he's done a lot of papers, and some of his slides are there. He was speaking today at the conference around an extension on that called patching, or what is it? No, let me just find it. Hold on, it was this one, information sent. Yeah,
I hadn't heard that term used before in terms of search.
Oh no, it's massive. Information foraging. It's berry picking. It's like picking bits of information, like you would if you were like following as an information scent.
Well, I understand the term foraging in a non-search context.
Yeah, no, information foraging theory.
Dawn, have you ever been to Susan Dumas' homepage?
No.
She's one of the people who invented LSI.
Okay. What's it called?
But after she left Bell Labs, she went to Microsoft. Her name is Susan Dumas, Dumais, and her site's named after her. So let me put that in the chat.
Oh, Susan Dumas. Okay.
She's written a lot of interesting papers about search behavior.
Quite a lot of stuff around temporal awareness. Time-based search.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's interesting. How intriguing. I'll have a look at some of her stuff. I'll tell you what, on another note, there's an awful lot of papers being talked about at this conference that are very, very current. In this past couple of years, a lot of this neural network stuff. And a few of the people, I was speaking to a crowd from the University of Glasgow. They've sent a big cohort, actually, and some of the professors are here. They were talking about old models of information retrieval pretty much all being, they're still there, just as grounding, really, but that's all they're really used for now, because it's all about this predictive modeling and, neural networks, really. So, yeah, it's interesting, and they're nice people. I mean, I come to these things, I don't know a soul. I'm like, I just like going to my first SEO conference all over again, where you have to speak to people you don't know. Whereas when I walk in now, I always know somebody. So, but they're friendly enough. Yeah. Obviously, academics are a little bit less out there than a lot of SEOs, so they take a bit more talking to start with. Yeah, I love Answer the Public. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like going to conferences to meet people, but I'm actually an introvert. But to me, that's the main benefit of going to those things, is to meet more people and learn from them.
I'm an ambivert. Is that the middle one, where I'm a bit extrovert, and then after a bit people get on my nerves, or I get on theirs, and I think, I'm going back into my geek pit for a bit. So that's a combination of the two, really. My husband is much more extrovert than me. He'll just talk to anybody. I take a little bit of time to get chatting, and then you can't stop me after that.
Search Love is going on in San Diego right now, and I got an email from one of the speakers there who said, I'm going to mention you today in my presentation, but thought of you and wanted to see if you want to meet up with us after the show tonight.
That's nice.
So I'm going to go hang out with them.
Oh, that's near to you, is it?
Yeah. It's about 40 minutes away.
I don't know why you've never spoken at that conference, Bill.
I spoke at a version of it in Boston about 4 years ago when I was on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if it's near, and you're, well, I always really enjoy your stuff, and you've always got great things to share with people, and all very grounded.
They're invitation only, so maybe if I meet them today, they'll realize that I'm not too far away from where they're at, and I can speak to the future. Yeah,
they should. Yeah, definitely, because you've got a lot of really good information to share, for sure. Yeah. you speaking at PubCon? Are you going to PubCon in Vegas again? You're planning to?
I've submitted a pitch, so I suspect I'll probably be there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They seem to keep on inviting me back.
Yeah. I'm going to PubCon Florida in 2 weeks. My
Really?
hubby's coming with me. Yeah. I'm speaking about server log file analysis and actual things that I've learned, because I check them every day, server logs, and I do find things every day actually that I can do things with.
Wow. I've done that in the past. I wouldn't have my worst enemy do that. It's boring, and
I love it.
Used to hurt my eyes.
So
I don't do it. I do find real patterns in there, and
for sure. Yeah, and you have to be a lot more focused, so you get more out of it than you do analytics.
Well, yeah, I've found really quick and quite big wins with them. To be fair, that I've discovered like chains that maybe haven't come up in things like Search Console or via normal crawls, that I've been able to just immediately pick up on just from logs really. So yeah, I found them useful.
It's easier to do one of the things I like to do, which is see someone's progression through a website and see all of it. Google, there's just too many missing pieces in Google Analytics. Like half the time, you don't know how they actually got to the site.
Yeah, I don't look at the analytics. I don't configure them with analytics too much, to be fair. I just look at the raw logs. I get a cron job every day that sends me a Googlebot activity on an email, and I just yeah. So I just have a quick look through it, look for any patterns, look at activity. It only takes me a few minutes, but I've been able to spot quite a few issues just by having that on a cron. So it literally just comes out at 10 o'clock every morning.
Yeah,
I look at logs a lot less now that we've got things like Google Analytics and Search Console. But I remember when those weren't everywhere.
Yeah.
And you'd ask people for the log files, and they go, "What are those?"
I know, exactly.
Where do I get those?
Yeah.
That's the hard part, actually, because people think that, oh my God, massive security risk. I'm petrified of like letting you see the logs, blah, blah, blah. Also, they don't know how to get them. The bigger the organization, the more the layers of bureaucracy to actually get them signed off. Some of mine use things like grey logs. So what they do is they just set security settings, and they give me an account and just share certain ones. Or Logly. Logly is another really good platform for that. Same thing, and they just get fed in. So hook it up to the server, and they just automatically get sucked in. So I know a lot of people talk about it, but I don't think everybody does server log file analysis.
I don't.
They just talk about it.
I'm very happy to say I don't.
Yeah.
I don't need to.
But I do, yeah. And I have found it's been really useful, especially on sites with a lot of parameters, because they're not always. It's like I discovered that Googlebot is going into some parameters that I'd configured where I'd said don't go into there at all. Now, my understanding was that parameters were pretty much, well, they're directives. I asked John today in a hangout, and I told him, and he said, oh yeah, they're just a hint to us. So actually, parameters are not directives. Or if they are, they're just, well, maybe they've just been downgraded. I don't know.
They're like canonical?
Directives when you set parameter handling in Search Console. John said they're just hints today. So anyway,
because there's so many people set them up wrong.
Yeah, I think maybe people are making a balls of them because they all dive in thinking that because they've read a blog post, they know what they're doing, and then they just block off massive sections because they don't realize things like inheritance of blockages and the difference between passive and active parameter handling and that kind of thing. So I don't know. They're like canonicalization. People go nuts because they don't really understand it.
Right, but I would not be surprised that you would see a Google bot hit those pages. You know why? Someone else has linked to those pages using those parameters, and it's going to follow those no matter what.
Well, these definitely haven't, but I'll tell you what.
Did you find them? Did you find them in the log? As actually,
I found them in the logs, yeah. I found them in the logs, and I think what's happened is originally they have been crawled and they've been added to the seen list of URLs. So once they've been discovered, that's it, yeah. So they're going to come back from time to time and then tell us about these parameters, yeah. There's nobody's linked to them because they're not pages that are actually link worthy. They're like question and answer things.
You'd be surprised what people link to.
A
lot of people are like me. I'm so lazy. I'll just grab whatever in the thing, whatever in the browser window.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to figure out, unless it's a UTM string, and I just take them off out of none of your business.
I think it might be internal linking more than anything. That's maybe been a past problem with it. Anyway, John said he'd have a look if, you know, if it's a case of, like I said, I thought that they were also blocked at robots.txt, and he said, well, actually, if it's being crawled, then that is a problem because robots.txt, they try to be good crawlers. So, yeah, what I'm saying is, John, in the course of Webmaster Hangout, just said, yeah, like anybody else, he'd have a look if it was an anomaly.
You find pages in the SERPs that have been blocked by robots text.
But people still link to them, yeah, I know, yeah.
And they just say, yeah, we know about this page, so that's it. Yeah. We can't show you anything from it. But
it's a kind of we can't unsee it type thing.
Right. Well, Google, I don't, you know.
Once they know, that's
Google
it.
Knows every link that's ever been on the
internet.
Not just the ones that have been deleted.
Yeah, exactly.
But also every link that's been deleted.
That ever existed. The history logs in the search engine system is there. It's for all to see. The word history logs. The history of that URL and every URL that ever was.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Me and Steve used to argue about that because he kept saying Google doesn't keep track of that stuff. I said they keep track of everything. They never forget. And that's why
there's a score, and it seems to be that every URL or every content fingerprint rather than the URL, because obviously content can shift around between URLs. But it's always there, and there's a rolling score, if you like.
Well, they know if you've done bad things in the past.
Of course they do, yeah.
And, you know, you're always going to be on their list.
Yeah, you're always on the naughty list.
Do keep lists, believe me.
It's just starting to sound like either God or Santa Claus.
Yeah, I think it's a bit like that. Are you on the naughty or nice list?
It's God on the internet. Gives life to sites.
Unbridled power.
Yes, yes.
So it's all interesting stuff anyway. Yeah, so that's where I am. That's the long answer.
Wow.
Yeah, I came across a really kind of interesting tool called Answer the Public.
Yeah, I use that a lot.
Yeah, it looks like a good way to figure out content and for answers to try and get answer boxes. Looks like a good method.
Definitely, for sure. Yeah. Did you ever see that post that I did for Search Engine Journal based on the voice search from last year's European Summer School on Information Retrieval? And Enrique Alfonseca was talking about the challenges being faced. He's from the Google research team working on conversational search in Switzerland, and he gave a lecture. And there's still so many challenges with it. You know, people think that it's done and dusted and it's on its way, but words are such a hard thing to understand. And he was looking at that and saying, look, you know, we know that people have all these questions, but actually disambiguation is such a massive challenge with words. So yeah, so things that answer the public are really great for trying to help with that.
They got to get rid of the crazy looking guy though.
Oh God, he scares me. He's really scary. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you were around back then, but Ask Jeeves used to have an application that you could watch all the searches.
Yeah.
Back then, a very high percentage were them asking questions, were people asking questions.
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah, it was actually like a live feed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Remember it? Yeah. And then it became ask.com, didn't it? And then it got sold to, I think, what's it called? That company that owns Ticketmaster, Home Advisor, and what's it called? They're a massive
group.
Barry Diller's group. Yeah.
I
can't remember, but they're massive. They own loads of things, hotels.com and everything.
Many big sites.
They keynoted actually, or they were introduced via the keynote talk at SMX the other week, like when Microsoft did a talk looking at the things that they're doing with things like chatbots and whatnot in that group. I can't remember what it's called actually. So annoying. They're massive anyway. They're like $6 billion dollar business.
Yeah.
And I think they own ask.com as well as lots of other things.
Oh, they own a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
The city site too. What's it called?
CitySeek.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And they kind of franchise that out because Toronto.com is run by them.
Yeah.
It's not a very good. Let's say I was there maybe 10 years ago. I haven't been back.
What, to that website or to Toronto?
Well, yeah, they've been around a long time.
I'm trying to think what it's called.
Toronto Star.
It's actually really annoying me now. What's it called? I can't remember.
City something.
Oh, gotta look. Nah, one sec. They're massive. Oh, yeah, that's it. Interactive Corporation.
That's the main corp. Yeah. I remember that the company that did the city sites had more salespeople than content people.
Yeah.
What do you think was important to them?
You mean like most SEO agencies?
Pardon me?
You mean like most SEO agencies?
I get more phone calls from people claiming to be Google than SEOs.
Really? Oh wow! Yeah. I think you're allowed to get away with that.
Representative.
I don't think they're really from Google.
They're not. Of course they're not.
No, but if you're a partner, you can say you're calling on behalf of Google. Pretty sure.
I don't know. I don't know.
think they're partners either.
I tell you what, no, you can. You can't. You can't in the UK because
I always have two words for them. One starts with F and the other one starts with O. That's the whole conversation.
They're usually robocalls, and if you agree to speak to a person, they get flustered when you start screaming at them.
I'll tell you what, no, you can't do that in the UK, definitely, because a company just recently got shut down for doing that in Manchester, I believe, for claiming to be Google. It was in Search Engine Land, I think it got shared as well. Yeah.
The laws are a little bit different there.
Yeah. definitely.
Well, and you wonder if, how many times people get away with it compared to how often maybe they make one example out of somebody.
Wow.
Well, do you know what? I think things are going to get even tighter as soon as GDPR comes in. Oh my God. The Information Commissioner's Office, which is going to be tasked with policing that. Years ago, when I took my postgrad, one of the lecturers was a privacy expert, and that you're talking about 2012/13. And she said, look, be prepared for realizing that the Information Commissioner's Office, which is very, very nice now and very helpful, is eventually going to be funded via the fines they collect, very much like traffic wardens. Yeah. So it's all going to change. Not long ago, about 3-4 weeks ago, the Direct Marketing Association published a post that talked about the changes to funding that's coming for the Information Commissioner's Office, and it's going to be funded by the collection of fines. Yeah. And this week, they obviously stormed into Cambridge Analytica, got a search warrant, and they all had like nightclub bouncers jackets on with ICO on. So it's almost like they're like an enforcement. So it's going to change. I'm telling you, the internet is going to be.
It sounds like a Saturday Night Live skit.
It does.
Yeah.
Seriously, yeah. It's good. They're going to be like the traffic wardens of the internet.
Yeah, but also, wouldn't it be that if you even collected names and addresses and didn't do it properly, that's a huge fine there, correct?
Yeah, straight away. Yeah. Well, they've planted some massive fines on people, even massive charities, huge charities. I think Cancer Research got a massive fine. So they're not bothered who they fine. Students' Union got a huge fine, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure I'm not mistaken on that. For something to do with letting students be marketed to by Pizza Hut or something like that, or Domino's. Yeah. There's loads. They have like TripAdvisor, Expedia, just millions of pounds or hundreds of thousands. Let me find it.
This has been going on since biblical times, when the tax collectors in Israel were appointed by Rome and got to keep a portion of what they collected in taxes. So naturally, they were the meanest, nastiest, most unethical people in the world, because they could be bullies and keep the proceeds. Same thing's going to happen with this. You give unlimited power to somebody, and they're going to abuse it.
Yeah, a government person's job dependent on getting the job done would go a long way to get it done.
They've always been very nice. They're actually, their head office is based near me. It's like 6 miles away. And, I pay every year for the business to be registered to on data protection, blah, 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 etc. And they're always very friendly and cuddly when you ring them up, and you can tell it's just like a few small people in an office. Now it seems that it's being ramped up to be absolutely huge. When you see them in like black shiny like nightclub bouncer jackets with Information Commissioner's Office on the back going into Cambridge Analytica, you think, oh my God, these are like RoboCop now.
And that's how they don't get shot.
Yeah, they're going to start carrying guns.
They come in without something on their jacket.
Yeah.
You watch, they'll start carrying guns. That's what's happening here.
Oh, yeah. Not in the UK.
Well, maybe.
But listen, look at some of this enforcement action that they've taken against companies like WhatsApp. WhatsApp have signed an undertaking. Who else? Home improvement companies, Pennine Care, NHS Trust. Yeah. At the minute, a lot of it, financial services, £300,000. Oh, wow.
I can tell you that this stuff with the GDPR just has cemented my decision that I'm only going to deal with U.S. companies. Now, that's pretty easy for me to say in my market niche, but still, what a nightmare. My gosh.
It is. It's gonna. I don't know how it's gonna play out. Look at this one. Look, Carphone Warehouse, £400,000. £400,000. Yeah, a lot, isn't it?
What did they do?
What did they do? Let's say it says here, Carphone Warehouse fined 400,000 after serious failures placed customer and employee data at risk. That's it. I mean, there's like a big bill there.
It's for data risk. That's cool. I think that's way overdue.
Well, a lot of these like companies now that, I mean, I'm on the telephone preference service. I registered my house, my mobile, my husband's mobile, my son's mobile, his girlfriend's mobile, my mum's, everybody's mobile, yeah, and all the houses, because I don't want people ringing me trying to sell me things off the cuff. So as soon as they ring me up, I say straight away, how did you get my data? Then immediately they know they're talking to somebody who knows that they shouldn't be having my data. They immediately crap themselves, either hang up or start to come out with some sort of excuse. And then I tell them that I'm on the TPS register, and usually just goes dead. And I never hear from them again. So seems to work.
They have those do not call lists here, and they're useless. That's
well,
because they don't do anything about it.
Well, here they can get into a lot of trouble if they don't check the TPS register. And and my business is on the CTPS register as well. Again, it's free. It stops people just ringing up with sales calls off the cuff. So,
if you're, I know in the United States, a business, you can call a business regardless of whether they're on the do not call list or not.
Yeah, no, you can't here. You can't. You're not allowed, and they're strict. So if you've been on the CTPS register for 28 days and somebody calls you after that period, they can be fined. And you know what I do? If somebody rings me, I report them. I literally will just say, how did you get my data? Sometimes they'll say, oh, we got it through, blah, blah. The best ones are the ones that say, oh, have you had a car accident? Like, right, so I know that you're just playing the numbers here. So I report them. I'll immediately go to the ICO report like that. So,
yeah, a lot of the companies are using direct dialers that they're just putting numbers in. They don't know who they're calling.
Exactly. And they're like all sat there, and they don't, like you said, they don't know who they're ringing. The next call gets automatically connected so they can get maximum productivity out of sales teams.
I had a police officer pull me over on a highway in Virginia for the speed I was going at. I wasn't going too fast, but I was going faster than I probably should have. Within a week, I had gotten letters from about 10 different law firms because...
So clearly somebody sold your data or passed your data on.
Yeah, the court did.
Yeah. Are they allowed to do that?
Yeah, it's public record.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, ours aren't, I don't think. I don't think they're allowed to pass it on.
The court makes that information public. People go in and look at the information and copy it down and sell it.
Okay. I know that...
It really disturbed me that all these attorneys...
I don't think you're allowed to do that here. I know that at one time, if I'm not mistaken, personal injury firms used to have like deals with garages. So if you went in to get your car repaired after an insurance claim, then you know that data was able to be passed on at one time to people that could ring you then and say, "Have you had an accident?"
They were all
you're not allowed to do it.
Yeah, they were all offering to get my ticket changed to a non-moving violation for $99.
Okay. God, it's like ambulance chases, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. Said, boy, it makes me feel glad I went to law school. Yeah.
Get on my nerves.
There's a whole profession of ambulance chasers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I suppose there is in SEO as well.
Well, they usually have I've worked in that industry. That's all I know.
Yeah, I've worked in that space as well. So, yeah. But the laws have all changed around it all, from what I can gather here. It's quite a bit harder now. Quite a lot of legislation and Yeah, I mean, a lot of industries are under quite tight regulation now. I wonder whether the internet will be, and this might be a big sign that it's headed that way, particularly in the UK. You know, with the GDPR, it's going to change.
In the UK, that won't happen here, or in the United States. I don't think.
Do you not think eventually? Oh, well, you've got other stuff, haven't you, going on, like net neutrality and stuff?
No, that's just politicians trying to get people to click. It's political clickbait.
Yeah, so, well, it certainly seems to rile a lot of people up.
Donald Trump tweeting at 3 a.m. in the morning to get people's attention off the guy investigating, the special prosecutor investigating FBI ties to Russia. Yeah, so Donald tweets about the woman who's being interviewed on 60 Minutes to draw attention away from Russia.
Yeah, that seems to get quite a bit of traction on Twitter.
Yeah.
Only because they'll do anything to nail them. It's like, I can't believe the lengths to which people are going. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I tend
That's
to.
just my 2 cents.
It's as if we've turned the American political system into an edition of The Apprentice.
Yeah, or Soap. Do you remember Soap? Do you remember that? Do you remember that show?
Remember Dennis Rodman showing up in South Korea to negotiate.
Do you remember that program, or is it just me that remembers that?
I remember Soap. Yeah,
it used to make me laugh so much. I think I was about 12 years old when that was on, and I used to watch it on a Saturday night, and it was the craziest thing ever. And very few people remember it now, but life is a bit like that at the minute, isn't it? It's just a bit fun.
A little bit, yeah. So we're past the hour. Could go around and everybody who's still with us tell us something about the week up ahead. Dawn, anything you're looking forward to in the conference you're at?
Yeah, so there's another 2 days, and I'm going. Well, the conference itself has got, as I say, another day of researchers, and then the final day is Industry Day. I know that he's called Fabrizio Fallas something or other. He's speaking from Facebook and a few other major organisations. NAVA have got a huge cohort here, so that should really be interesting. And tomorrow we're going up the mountain on this cable car on a city tour and to a lovely restaurant for a dinner with people from the conference, so that should be nice. And then I'm headed back, going to the Lake District with my hubby, and then I'm off to Florida. So I'm not all in 1 week. That's the next 2 weeks.
Sounds like fun. Terry?
Next week, I'm hopefully going to be releasing at least one website. I've almost got the audio site done. It'll have about 250 shows when I'm completed. I'm going to let them go in slowly, and then I'll remove the text off of the original and just leave the videos and audio on Libsyn. And then it'll all be running off a crappy WordPress blog.
I'm working on a blog post myself. One of those context-based blog posts. And this one, I'm thinking maybe there's not a lot of giveaways for site owners, except to imitate what Google's doing. Because they say, okay, we could ask questions like, how tall is Barack Obama? and he's 6'1", but more importantly, we are thinking about adding contextual facts, like he's the ninth tallest president in the U.S. history, which I'm not sure how helpful that is, but it is interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So the more facts you can put in with that fact, probably the better you'll do by giving that fact context.
Yeah.
Yeah. Comparative context.
That gives you a new way to look at suggestion boxes, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Very. Who else is still here?
I think Doc is away and Tim is away for right now.
Oh.
But we're going to close for the day. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
See you later. See you next week.
Bye.
Hey, Doc.